And you know, if you trade stocks over 500,000 or 1,000,000, try to look for that increase in volume throughout the day. That's something that I look at as well quite a bit. So when you start to notice that, you know, somebody's interested in it, and very rare you have a big move up without an increase in volume. We see that a lot of times on the biotechs or some of these stocks that break through key resistance levels. Another question here I'll try to get all your questions, guys. I'm going to limit initially to one per person. I know some of you guys asked 2 or 3 questions. Here's another question. How much fundamentals, this is from Dolce Vita, how much do you incorporate fundamentals into your trading or your strictly technical trading, Tony?
Would your government lie to you? Absolutely none. None for me. But fortunately, I could look at it this way. I have people in my room, they're very good on fundamentals. You know, if I post a stock and someone will say, well, that stock, you know, has $2.18 cash per share, no debt, it looks really great, you know. So then you have a situation where you could be entering a value stock. You know, fundamentals are good. The technicals are good. All I can say is one thing. If you look at fundamentals, you only want to trade it technically.
Yeah, I'd like to look at the fundamentals, especially stocks that are going to be holding like longer term, like for years. And I think that's an important thing to look at. You can see on a lot of these charts that Tony's showing, it's stocks that have been around for a while, with the exception of that IPO. And I think it's an easy thing to do is just check on Yahoo Finance. You can always see if a company has cash on hand, because if they don't, you're going to get into trouble with them doing secondary offerings. The price will come down. They'll have to try to find partners, and that's when companies can start to get into trouble. So it's a quick search that you can do on Yahoo Finance and just look at the technicals on the company. So that's something that if you're going to hold a stock longer term, you should check out. So let's get to the next question by a lot of good comments here. Great video by Were We. Awesome stuff by Dennis. Ray said, telling you thank you. Where we had a question on any books on technical analysis that you prefer. I know Tony had mentioned there Uncle Steve. We've had Uncle Steve as a guest speaker on in the past in that old group that me and Tony were involved with, and great technical teacher. Nothing's 100%, guys, and Tony will tell you this too. No indicator or technique is going to be 100%, but as long as you can have it where that technique works, like tweezer bottoms are very successful, but we've seen recently on some stocks it might break through. When it breaks down under those levels, you get out. But nothing's 100%, but you can get it to a point where it works more often than it doesn't. You're going to be in the money playing longer term by doing that. Okay, and you can see that on some of those swing trades that we've done recently. The success rate is quite high, whether you're doing it intraday or whether you're doing it as a swing trade. Finding the things that are simple, that work over time, you'll find that you have no choice but to get better at it and get more profitable. NW James had a question. Do you use a stop loss? How do you determine stop loss, by dollar or percentage, or by the candle pattern?
Oh, I use a percentage. That works for me because I'm watching it all day. And when you can watch the price action in any time frame, your stop loss might change as the day proceeds. So, on a swing trade that's coming off a long-term chart, I can go 7-10%. Doesn't bother me at all. Now, if I was day trading, probably 0.5%, something like that.
One thing that Tony probably didn't mention there is, and I know he's big on the money management as well. So on an individual position, he's going to look at that risk-reward analysis to make sure he's got more than enough upside. If he's going to risk 0.5% or even 10%, he's going to be making sure he's getting that bigger percentage, similar to what I'm looking at. And a lot of times, some of the trades Tony's done in the past, which I participated in, and some that I might have missed, have been like tremendous trades. But somebody that can start with a small amount, and he'll pull it up to big amounts. I've seen him do that in the past. But you can see that how he keeps his stuff quite easy to understand and simple. Release digital. How do you find your trade score criteria? We went through that with the scans. Tony already did that. Diash says, great, thank you, Tony. Dennis, what type of filter do you use? Which we did. Okay, Ray had a question. SIMG chart, you have 8 EMA and 34 EMA. Please explain why not exponential EMA.
That is exponential. Exponential EMA 8, exponential EMA 34. The reason I use the 8 and the 34, I don't use the T3s because I can't get the T3s on stock chart. But the 8 and the 34 are Fibonacci numbers. And this is the way it worked. The T3s are going to work on a bunch of stocks, and the EMAs are going to work sometimes a little better, than the T3s on a certain amount of stocks. But anyway, to answer previous questions, How to Make the Stock Market Make Money for You by Ted Warren. It's a book about market sentiment. It teaches you who's in the know and how you can identify that on a chart. The book is packed full of charts, well worth the read. And Weinstein, I like I have about 35, 40 books here. I've been through them all. The thing I don't like about the books, they give you 10% fluff or 10% meat, 90% fluff. They're all that way. Where Ted Warren's book is just about 100% meat. And it shows you how to identify market sentiment. That's it. That's what's on a chart, market sentiment. Everything you see on a chart is market sentiment. The highs, the lows, the consolidations, everything. My advice is to learn that market sentiment. It'll really enhance your trading.
There's also a good book on technical analysis with Alpha Trends that you can actually see on Twitter. He's really good. He's part of that Stock Twitch group. He's got one of the top 10 books on technical analysis if you wanted to check that out. But if you search Alpha Trends, you'll find them. Tony, a question from RJ. Since we're going to have to miss you in the other group, could you comment on Capstone, which I see CPST. I see Capstone. We used to trade that a lot in 2003, 2005, and I see it's still at around $1. But it's come up quite a bit since then and then fallen back. That dollar RJ, and I think that's Archie, right? It's that key level has been on $1 for quite some time, all through the years if you look at it. So Tony, if you wanted to pull that one up.
What's the symbol, Frank?
And maybe Archie wanted to go through a little bit more detail on it.
On CPST? Well, CPST is pretty easy. It's what I call a tear jerker. It's left a lot of people, with tears coming out of their eyes. It's been at times a hard one to figure. When you think it's going to turn left, it turns to the right. But, I think everyone should have some of this. This is a good stock that has long-term growth. I have some of this, and I'm going to hold it. And when it breaks resistance levels, instead of selling, I'm going to add to my position. Like I'll add at 135 here, and then I'll add at 145. And then if I go to a weekly chart, so if you go to a weekly chart, you can see a symmetrical triangle being formed here on the weekly. That's good, even though the candle's red, and the candle did fall. Let's see here. Looks like it fell below the 8, but the 8 and the 34 are compressing on top of each other there. So uh, I stay in the trade above this level right here where that tweezer is. If it falls below there, then I'll get out and just look for another entry into it. This has a lot of shares, and a lot of shares are traded. That's why during the day you see it just kind of flip shares back and forth.
Around that 150, 157 going to be a key level for a further breakout. No real resistance above that level. Then you'll probably see those moving averages, RJ, crossing over again to the upside, sort of like what it's done in the past when it breaks out. So probably looking at those key levels that Tony just mentioned are going to be key on that. That 1.25 looks pretty important right now.
Yeah, and so you can see why I look at long-term charts. This is a monthly. See, we got a nice cup here. Here's the handle. Here's the low. Here's the consolidation off of that low. So that's all we need to know. This looks really nice right here. Even though a lot of people cuss at this stock will do very well.
Can't believe I remember trading that one, Tony, back then. And I think it had moved up to like $3 or something, if I remember right. But and now higher than that, as you can see on that chart. Yeah, very nice. Okay, guys. Try to get to most of your questions there. You're going to hopefully see more of Tony around. We'll try and get him to do some future webinars, or maybe try and incorporate something together. I like Tony. We get along well, and I like his way of teaching. It's very simple. Very similar to what I always think of doing. So I hope you liked this webinar today.